I don't want to put anyone on blast, but I can think of one particular listener who may have already explored that option. Again, not going to name names.
Well, no shame here.
I see.
No. Name starts with R. Welcome to Millennial, the home of pretend adulting and real talk. I'm Andrew.
I'm Laura.
And I'm Pamela.
In real talk, y'all, the Supreme Court actually confirmed on Monday what people of color have known to be true in this country since forever. Racial profiling is just okay, according to the Supreme Court, the conservative majority. And essentially what this was the Supreme Court overturning a lower court ruling that previously barred ICE from stopping people in Los Angeles and questioning them based on factors such as speaking English with an accent, speaking Spanish, or being present at certain locations like farms or pickup sites for day laborers. So, nice and targeted.
That's scary. And it sets a dangerous precedent for other areas of the country. We see Trump threatening Chicago, including over the weekend. I love how JB Pritzker has been responding. Yeah,
well, to this, I'm just okay, let's ramp it up. Can we stop white men with bad haircuts from buying guns now? Can we just be that targeted?
If we're just going to stereotype everyone, why not just go balls to the wall? Yeah.
I'm glad you cited that specifically. That has been a long-running theory here at Millennial and why I continue to get my haircut every few weeks, because it's white men with bad haircuts that tend to do these shootings.
Andrew's I don't want to become a lone wolf.
I don't want people to stare at me and be like,
you want them to look at you and then look right past because you have great hair.
Exactly. Great. Thank you. That's very nice, Pam. Great hair. I wouldn't describe it that way, but okay.
But yeah, all of this obviously flies in the face of the Fourth Amendment, which protects against unreasonable search and seizure by the government and requires law enforcement to obtain a warrant based on, probable cause. But the MAGA folks don't really care about reality. They don't live in it. So, that's just the dose of reality for, half the country, maybe less than half that understands this stuff. And also ultimately, I would just say, y'all, as a reminder, anytime the Supreme Court does something, it sets a precedent. So if you're someone who is in favor of this right now, tread lightly, because you never know what this may set a precedent for, and you may not necessarily like what comes as a result of this in the future.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of another specific example off the top of my head where we've cautioned this slippery slope.
Presidential immunity.
Oh, yeah, that one.
Because it's it's not just for him, right? It's anyone who comes after, if that happens. And then also anyone who came before.
Going back to just the racial profiling of it all with ICE and stuff, I just think that a lot of times when you are second generation, third generation, any kind of Spanish speaker, parents are scared to teach their kids Spanish. And this is why. It's because they grew up being racially profiled and they want their children to fit in as best as possible. And unfortunately, that comes as a result of losing touch with their culture. But then these children also get penalized as they grow up because they're not seen as enough in the eyes of half of who they are or the whole of who they are. So it's just really sad because it affects more than just the possibility of you getting detained and racially stereotyped. It has deep-seated roots and acceptance of culture.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point.
In lighter news, there was a story that gave me hope for the future. Did y'all see this clip from a Philadelphia Phillies baseball game the other day where a baseball heads into the stands and it lands in this, let's call it a neutral zone, where really anybody could have grabbed the ball. It didn't fall into any one particular person's hand directly. So it was up for grabs. And a dad picks the ball up and hands it to his young son, hugs his young son from behind. It was such a sweet moment. That's why you love baseball games when you're a parent. You take the kid to the game and, oh my God, I caught a ball for you. It's so sweet. But it didn't end there this time, because a Karen comes up, taps dad on the shoulder and says, hey, that ball was actually mine. Now, if you review the video, again, it was neutral territory. Karen didn't have any right to this ball, but she starts berating dad. Dad pulls it from his son and hands it to Karen, and she walks away with it. It was unreal.
She was really aggressive about it, though.
Yeah.
She was going crazy. I think if I were a dad trying to like spare my child the insanity of one person, I would have just been like, son, just give me the ball back. We're just gonna, we're not gonna deal with this. But it is
his family.
She wasn't it. She was like claiming ownership because it bounced at one point right in front of her.
Oh, whatever.
It's like too bad, so sad. You should have caught it then.
And it looked to me like it was in the row in front of her. Nobody was in that row. So that's why I say it's neutral territory. It just kind of fell in front of her. The feel-good part of this is that this video goes viral. And even before the video went viral, everybody saw it happen in the stadium, including the Phillies management. They go up to this kid and give him this gift bag packed with Phillies merchandise. Then one of the players takes him back behind the stadium after the game, signs a bat for him or something like that. This kid gets spoiled with riches, as he should. And then you start seeing online, people are putting this Karen on like wanted posters trying to find her. If I were her, I would move out of the tri-state area. I would be.
How embarrassing.
It's really embarrassing, especially since it was like a ball of little importance. Like you always give the ball to the kid. You know what I mean?
That's what I was thinking.
That's the whole thing.
Pam.
That's part of baseball culture too.
Yeah,
unless
for the
it's
record,
like, we're not talking like Barry Bonds' 500th home run baseball. You know what I mean? We're talking just like a normal ball that either fouled or was a homer.
Yeah. And for the record, Karen was just with her husband. She was not with a child. It'd be one thing. I don't know how that would work out if two children were kind of vying for the ball, but she was just with her husband. And, you know, she seemed to have no regrets about it. So, Philly Karen, the world has turned against you. Again, move out of the tri-state area. They do not want you there anymore. I don't know where you can go, but
and that's saying something because Philly fans are kind of scary.
Yeah.
Like across the board, not just for baseball.
You're damn right. I'm a Philly fan. We're going to talk in a moment about the TV that is now shocking in hindsight, and this is inspired by a recent docuseries on Netflix. But first, Millennial is brought to you by listeners like you. So visit patreon.com/millennial to support us for as little as $5 a month, and you can get instant access to perks like After Dark. This week, we are following up on a After Dark discussion we had a couple weeks ago, and I've got some more BS to add to this because somebody in my life is pissing me off. So we'll dive into this in this week's After Dark. Also on our Patreon, you get access to ad-free episodes, our live streams, a new physical gift every year, and a lot more.
Visit patreon.com/millennial and get started today with a 7-day free trial to check out all of our bonus content, including After Dark. And if you sign up for an annual subscription, you'll get 15% off your membership, which equals 2 months free.
Other ways to support us include visiting shop.millennialshow.com, which is where you can pick up official show gear. You can also tell a fellow millennial about the show and make sure you're following us in your favorite podcast app.
We're going to take a quick break to search for Philly Karen, and we'll be right back. So I wanted to talk about a new Netflix documentary looking at the hit TV series back in the day, The Biggest Loser. This docuseries exposes how bad things were behind the scenes of the show. Did you two watch The Biggest Loser when it was airing?
Not religiously. I think everybody probably at some point like caught an episode or two.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just wasn't for me.
Yeah.
Were you into it?
I may have watched some episodes in the first or second season. I wasn't loyal to it. But I just knew it was popular.
Yeah. It was hard not to be familiar with it. And because, I mean, as you see in this documentary, it was such a phenomenon, and like it really bridged into like where you would see it be reported on the news, and there was a ton of merchandise that was pushed coming from it. So even if you didn't watch it, it was really hard not to understand the general gist.
I'm glad you bring that up because it was a real franchise. There was cookbooks centered on The Biggest Loser. Planet Fitness, I think, had a deal with the show. All kinds of things that were going on. So now this new docuseries, which is called Fit for TV, the reality of The Biggest Loser, kind of exposes how BS the show was and what they were really trying to achieve with it. And we're going to get into other shows that haven't aged well over the last couple of decades. And then later, I want to talk about shows that are airing right now that probably are not going to age well either. But a couple of items in this docuseries I wanted to highlight. One part shows one scene from The Biggest Loser season 8, I believe, where the contestants have to run on a beach and one of them collapses during this competition and had to be taken to the hospital, where she learns she had a life-threatening condition. And one of the coaches on the reality show also appeared in the docuseries, Bob Harper. He recalls hearing producers say they wanted contestants to puke because it creates good TV.
It was gross. And I mean, I think her life-threatening health condition was a direct result of the malnutrition that she was experiencing being in this program, where they were encouraged to eat like less than 1,000 calories a day, but then bust their ass for hours at the gym every day.
They were trying to do a 6,000 to 8,000 calorie deficit to achieve this extreme weight loss. The docuseries also reminds us that the show would also set up these challenges, tempting the contestants to just feast on food. They were just given like this like plethora of desserts put in front of them, and there was these challenges about how much or little they would eat. It was just gross, tempting them with this food while they're supposed to be achieving 6,000 to 8,000 calorie deficits. One of the more interesting interviews during the docuseries, I thought, was with season 8 winner Danny, who talked about how he gained all the weight back that he had lost on The Biggest Loser. And this guy lost, I think it was about 239 pounds, which was a record-breaking amount for The Biggest Loser. And obviously with these interviews, he was also talking about how the extreme weight loss that's depicted on the show was unsustainable. So it was giving people unrealistic expectations about what you could actually achieve in the long term.
Totally. And they've since come out. And I mean, part of this docuseries was the revelation that, surprise, most people who were part of this were not able to maintain their weight loss. And in some cases, people ended up gaining more weight than they had on them before they started the show. Yeah. And I mean, I feel like any person who has yo-yo dieted, which I am certainly someone who has done that over the course of my life, could tell you, even back then, that shit doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
The extreme like fad diet stuff, it does not work. But the slow and sustainable method that actually does work isn't sexy. So they don't want to show that.
It's not good for TV. It's not fast paced and yeah.
I was also just going to say that they probably didn't like send them off with the resources they needed to like slowly like just transition back into the real, like what realistically you can do in the real world. Because most people don't have 8 hours a day to exercise, for example. And also, again, like it's not sustainable to do that as it is not sustainable to be eating at such a calorie deficit. So there's a lot of moving parts here, but I highly doubt they were given support for like what life was going to be like after this. They were just like, all right, we've reshaped your body. Go forth.
Thank you for entertaining audiences at home. Now go away. You're not our problem anymore.
Well, and thank you for making us millions.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to, is like the money, the ratings.
Yeah. I mean, even Survivor has I think they call it like a rehabilitation program after you're
Oh,
a contestant
interesting.
to make sure you transition well out of that. Jeff Probst brings that up from time to time on the Survivor podcast. So there
It's very
are reality
interesting.
shows that look out for contestants, and The Biggest Loser wasn't doing it. There have been other docs that expose bad behavior behind the scenes at Abercrombie and Fitch. That one was called White Hot, and it aired on Netflix in 2022. We may have talked about that at
We
the
did.
time. Yeah,
Yeah.
that one was wild. Brandy Melville, bad behavior happened there, and that was exposed in Brandy Hellville in the Cult of Fast Fashion. Now, I think one of you may have mentioned this. I hadn't heard of Brandy Melville, the clothing
It's because you're
brand.
not a skinny fashion girl. Honestly. Yeah.
Okay. Did you two watch this documentary, Brandy
Mhm.
Hellville? Oh, you did?
I actually haven't seen this one.
I did because I remember this being like a really big deal, like Brandy Melville being a really big deal, specifically when I was in New York. Not that I could ever fit into Brandy Melville clothes, but it was like one of the places to go for shopping.
Okay. And then I know one we definitely did talk about was Quiet on the Set, looking at what was happening behind the scenes at Nickelodeon. We actually talked about that docuseries in episode 1013 back in April 2024. So all of these docs look at once trendy, super hot entities that actually had a lot of bad stuff going on behind the scenes. How about some other shows that haven't aged well and there aren't docuseries yet for them?
What Not to Wear. Did anyone watch this?
Yeah, I actually we used to watch this a lot as a family. Weirdly,
Oh.
Me and my
Did
mom
you
used
too?
to watch
Yeah.
it.
And there,
Yeah.
I vividly remember there was a one time where they pulled out a sweater that my mom had in her closet, and we never saw that sweater again. And it was like, it was actually, we were kind of shocked. Like we thought that it was because it was like this, it was like kind of kitschy cute. It was a Christmas sweater, and it had like a lot of like, I guess you would maybe consider it an ugly Christmas sweater, but it wasn't like that ugly. But it was very ornamented, I guess you could say. And they pulled it out, and right away they were like, trash, like, what is this? And yeah, we never saw Mama G wear that sweater again during Christmas time.
Oh,
It was really
Poor
sad.
thing.
I know.
Yeah, it was pretty brutal because they would get these people's entire wardrobes and hang them on a rack in their studio and go through their wardrobe in front of them, mock their clothing, toss it in a trash bin. And for some of them, they would make people put those clothes on and go stand in a 360-degree mirror and mock them while they were wearing the clothes
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
But then they gave them a $5,000 credit card to go out of New York and go shopping for a couple of days, which like sounds kind of appealing. But when you think about how far $5,000 is going to go on Fifth Avenue in New York, like you'll get some nice pieces, but are you getting an entire new wardrobe out of that?
Probably not. Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think
It's
so.
funny
No.
because like obviously Queer Eye still does a version of this. Like we see Tan France being like, no,
Mhm.
no, no, yes. But it doesn't seem as cruel as what they were doing on What Not to Wear.
yeah. Well, I didn't watch What Not to Wear, but I know Tan will also go, what do you think? How do you feel in this? What do
Mhm.
you like about it?
Yeah. Yeah. He's never cruel about like the way he gives feedback to these people, which I think is nice.
Yeah.
It was the complete, but we were also like operating in like such a like a much meaner era. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
But I will say like the one like useful tip I've that's always stuck with me from What Not to Wear is that like when in doubt you shouldn't put on more than like 3 colors at a time.
Yes. Now I will say like I did get some like early fashion tips from them about like mixing and matching patterns and not
Yeah,
how
yeah.
and how not to overdo that and like
Mhm.
look too busy. At the same time, I've rewatched some old episodes of that, and Stacey and Clinton, like, I don't know, every now and then they would have some really fucky taste where I was
Yeah.
just like, I don't get it. This
Yeah,
is
and they
supposed to
were-
be high fashion.
They were also like really judgmental about like women in larger bodies like shopping for maternity, like in the maternity clothes section,
Yeah.
which like I get that seems weird, but also you have to think like maybe that's like the only place they could find accessibly sized clothing for their bodies. You know, it's
Right.
not their fault that they have to go there to find shirts or pants that are a little bit bigger.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well,
especially
it
in like the
also-
2000s when
Yeah.
there was like hardly any
Hell.
plus size clothing. All you had was like maybe a Lane Bryant at the mall.
Listen, as a teenager, when these things were limited, I wasn't shy about going into the maternity section to find things that would fit me. Like, it didn't feel great as a 14-year-old to be like, well, my only option is the maternity section, but it was the reality.
It's
Yeah.
either that or business wear
Yeah.
sometimes. Yeah.
Another show, 10 Years Younger. Y'all remember this show?
Oh, I
I
definitely
don't think
do.
I do remember this one.
Were you
This was
watching it,
another
Laura?
mean one. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Another
It actually-
one.
It came on right after What Not to Wear on TLC, and the whole
Oh,
premise
boy.
was they would, have an unsuspecting victim. They would put said victim in a glass box in like a town square, and it was soundproof, so they couldn't hear what people were saying about them. But they would stop random passersby and ask them to say, hey, how old do you think the person in the box is?
No.
And of course, like they always picked people for this who maybe did need to upgrade their wardrobe. Maybe they didn't have the best haircut. Like they tended to go for people who, like, I think in the early 2000s, people would have like looked at them and thought frumpy.
Mm.
And they would go for that vibe so that it would be really easy for people to be like, oh, she's like 50. And then the girl would be like 30, and so it would traumatize these people. They would give them a makeover, new clothes, hair, makeup, the works, put them back in the box and do the same exercise all over again. And all of a sudden these passerbys are like, oh my God, she looks 25.
This is
So,
crazy. It's like a
it was
free ad
rough.
for Botox. Or
Yeah.
Botox
Yeah.
created this show.
It's funny because I feel like people still do this now on social media, except it's unsolicited.
Yeah.
You know?
Mhm.
And it's like, but also it's like, I think that the younger generation also has like in a different way than we did, has a warped sense of perception of what like 33, 35, et cetera, really looks like,
Yeah.
especially
Definitely.
since like, I think that, I think part of it is because we're like millennial generation, even like older millennials, a lot of it is like stunted growth. So we still dress a little bit like what we did when we were younger. And, I don't know. I mean, like it is like, and then in like on the opposite side of the spectrum, I remember like, the way you would see like, people in their 30s dressing on TV in the 90s or in movies in the 90s. And I definitely thought they were like 40 or 50. And then you realize that it's like, oh, Danny Tanner from Full House is actually like barely pushing 30 in season 1. It's just
Yeah.
the clothes, Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Another show, and I think everybody knows this show, America's Next Top Model.
this
And this
is the
one
one
isn't even that
I'm
old.
waiting. I've been waiting for
Ooh.
like a tell-all documentary about this one.
You should direct
Honestly.
it. You should create it yourself. What do you
It's
think are the biggest
Awful.
issues with this show? I didn't watch it. I knew of it, of course.
Just
but-
how terribly degrading they were to these women. Tyra Banks also, so the fact that she's able to like people will talk about how awful America's Next Top Model was in hindsight. Now you'll see it a lot on TikTok here and there. People are like, do you remember this show? You remember liking this show? Do you guys actually realize how mean this was? But I feel like she really hasn't paid for a lot of the sins she committed and how terrible she
No.
was to some of these girls. Like, and just the way that they would like basically like eliminate the contestants was also really mean. That whole like, I mean, now it's a joke, but the whole like, I was rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. If you watch that entire clip, she just like tears that girl down so bad. And sometimes it was over the silliest thing, like these women not wanting to get naked for a shoot.
Right.
Or
Yeah.
like not wanting to change their hair to the exact specifications that they wanted. Like she was like, you're not going to shave your head, then like you're too weak to do this. It was
Well,
insane.
and also there was a lot of, because I didn't watch this religiously, but I definitely saw some episodes when I was in college. And there was a lot of like projected self-loathing because Tyra would be really hard on Black women in particular.
Yes. Yeah.
That she thought sounded too, and I'm using air quotes here, ghetto.
Mm-hmm.
And so she would really critique them if they wouldn't whitewash the sound of their voice and like the way they carried themselves.
Yeah.
I remember at the time feeling like, what the fuck?
She was also really hard on anybody that didn't like fit the average model body stereotype.
Mm-hmm.
And it's ironic again because she also technically did not fit that stereotype. And it was almost it did kind of feel like she felt like they needed to go through the same hazing that she went through. And so then she punished people that had any sort of like resemblance to traits that she probably had to work on herself. But
well, and then it was always like our plus size model of the season. And she was like a size 6.
And we were like, and then we would all sit there and be like, oh yeah, she is fat.
Because that's how you were conditioned at the time.
Exactly.
Great. Another show, The Swan, and this one is actually sort of similar to 10 Years Younger in that there was extreme plastic surgery and weight loss going on, and then it ended in a beauty pageant where contestants competed against each other post-surgery. Is that right?
That's
I don't remember
up.
the beauty pageant part, but I do remember like this, like the whole the plastic surgery transformation, which I thought was crazy. It is crazy looking back on it that the entire premise of the show was like, I'm ugly, give me my dream body and face.
Yeah. It's like, this is stuff you would never believe would actually air today.
And then everybody in their life is like applauding them for suddenly being like what they consider to be conventionally attractive.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's also kind of interesting because I feel like I see people now mention that they've gotten Botox from time to time, but I feel like people are still a little cagey about it. I wonder if it's because of these TV shows or how we've retreated from these TV shows. So now people don't talk about Botox.
I think it is changing a little bit. You're starting to see online. I feel like the conversation is also shifting to reminding people that like celebrities can afford to look good and people with money can afford to look good because they can afford Botox and filler and like tasteful plastic surgery, for example. Yeah. But I feel like we've talked before about Botox, and I think all three of us were like, yeah, we would tell you if we got Botox. Like, we're not Botox opposed.
I do plan to get Bobo.
Same.
Hopefully within the next year. My friend gets Bobo, and he.
Where are you going to get it?
I'm not going to tell. Pam, you know, I keep everything on the DL these days about where exactly I'm going. In Vegas.
No,
I have a friend.
Where on your body are you getting Botox?
Oh, I thought you said, where are you going? I'm like,
no, I said, where are you getting it? Like on your forehead, on your crow's feet? Like,
so forehead. And then I noticed a few weeks ago, I do have a crease in between my eyes, and now I can't unsee it. Like, it's always been there, but I've never really thought about it, which is, you know, what I should continue doing, just not thinking about it. But unfortunately, one of my friends gets Botox, and now it's on my mind. But the med spa he goes to, occasionally they do like a buy one, get one free thing. So he's going to bring me sometime, and then I'll split it with him or something.
Nice.
Oh,
and we'll do our Bobo together. It'll be so great.
What a bonding experience.
Right? And then I'm going to get something to tighten up my asshole. But other than that, I think I'm good. You know, gays
is that
do that.
I guess that is a procedure.
Yeah,
you could get done.
Because you could do that with your vagina too, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
so
I don't know.
But I mean, presumably you have to, like, it's not like it's a one and done. Like you have to keep it up.
Right. I don't want to put any of our listeners
Botox
on blast.
Is not permanent.
But I can think of one in particular who may have explored that option. Name starts with an R. I don't want to put anyone on blast, but I can think of one particular listener who may have already explored that option, who has been open about their Bobo. I'm not going to name names.
Well, no shame here.
No. Name starts with R.
Now the patrons are definitely going to
right. No one's going to know now.
I'm talking about Roshni.
Of course.
I'm sure she's going to love that you attached her to that.
Oh, look, she just said bedtime, BRB. I wonder if she signed off before.
It's because she knew you were going to throw her under the bus.
Yeah. Now she's canceling her subscription. I did not know she was going to say bedtime right there. That's too funny.
That's so
Anyway,
funny.
we've been talking a lot about like makeovers a lot today, but one show that also hasn't aged well is 19 Kids and Counting and the Duggar family. There was a docuseries that aired about them a couple years ago. We were talking about that in the Bay Hangout on Patreon last night. And there are some extremely problematic people in that family. And it kind of glorified this idea of this, like, more kids, perfect family. Yeah, there's some struggles, but it just wasn't. I got to admit, I was into the show. It was fascinating.
It's also because they took away John and Kate +8, which was also very problematic. And so then they were like, but guess what? Look at what's better than 8 kids? 19. Except
Double.
I think they started off with like 14 kids and counting. And every time that lady got pregnant again, I was just shocked.
I always felt bad for the kids, especially the youngest. They're not getting the attention they deserve.
No, but then I always feel bad for the oldest crop, because they're the ones that end up having to take care of children. Yeah, because at that point it's a crop of older children. It's not just like one
a farm
eldest
of children
person. Yeah, but that they're the ones that are doing like most of the like caring, because the parents clearly don't have time for it.
Right. Well, and those older kids were more often than not the featured ones on the show. Mm-hmm. They were the ones bringing in the money, and they weren't getting paid.
Right.
A lot of former TV stars now do these TV rewatch podcasts in which they rewatch their old shows. I would definitely watch one with kids from 19 Kids and Counting. Them being adults now, talking about filming
Maybe
this,
the one sister who's married to the soccer player. I feel like she's jaded. Like she's like, they speak out a lot about bad stuff.
Oh, that would be fascinating. Contractually, maybe she can't still, but
I don't know, because like they were in this Shiny Happy People documentary that came out a couple years ago. So
yeah, that's the one I was referencing. So check that out, y'all, if you're curious. Yeah, good point. Oh, we should reach out. Hey, we'll produce the podcast for you. What do you think?
Mm-hmm.
So those are shows.
My editing skills are here for your use.
I already added 2 TV rewatch podcasts. Give me a third. All right. So we've been looking at shows in the past. We're going to take one more quick break, and then we're going to look at shows airing now that we're going to cringe at in the future. So we'll be right back. So the first show in our list of shows we'll look back on that air now and will be regretful of. First of all, Laura, you feel like true crime is not going to age well?
Yeah, and I want to give all credit to Pam for this idea, because I believe, Pam, you were the one who mentioned this in our planning meeting, but I totally agree. I think between the fact that the true crime genre and like the true crime community in a lot of ways like participates in re-victimizing families and victims, as well as like glorifying criminals, is one thing. But I think another thing is that it can be really easy to get sucked down the rabbit hole of true crime and only consume true crime. And the reality is that has impacts on your mental health and your outlook. And I say this as someone, like, I know I joke around on the show a lot about like, I love murder because I love true crime. I genuinely do find it fascinating. But I think we do have to like take a more balanced approach with it than we do socially. As a matter of fact, I was reading an opinion piece on Psychology Today, and a psychologist recommended, hey, if you're finding that you're hypervigilant, that your anxiety has increased, and that you're fearful of leaving home, and you're thinking more and more about true crime than anything else, it's time to take a break. I've definitely like seen some examples of people who are like a little overly paranoid because of true crime. What were you going to say, Pam?
Well, this is why I can't understand how people watch the true crime to relax. And I'll just say from personal,
Yeah.
because a lot of people do. I know you're laughing, but a lot of people are
No, I'm laughing because I know you're right.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, speaking from personal experience, one of the first internships I ever had was at a local cable news station out here. And one of the things that we had to do was watch the wires for news. And a lot of it was like, you know, there was a stabbing here, there was a break in there was like somebody died over here. And I like, after a few weeks, I started having nightmares, not of like getting killed, but of like being stalked by like just like a faceless person that was like trying to kill me. And it was making me paranoid. And I couldn't figure out why I was having these recurring dreams. And then I realized it's like, oh, it's because this is part of my job. I'm like reading about this for about, you know, like 5 hours out of the day at my internship. Like I need to compartmentalize this, you know, but that is like not necessarily, it was not like a choice I was making to relax at the end of the day. It was like literally part of my job and I was still struggling. So I don't know how people don't get paranoid.
I had never considered the issue being it leads to paranoia before, actually, but it makes perfect sense. And I'm also now thinking about how people, I think I've maybe even talked about this on the show over the years. You drive through like neighborhoods in my area, people got cameras on all four corners of their house. They're like, oh, my neighbor once said, oh, if you ever need the house cleared, let me know. I'll come over with my gun and clear it for you. Like if I think I have an intruder in the house. Yeah, seriously.
That's insane.
Yeah. And now this person is a retired cop. And I think, you know, that type of career might lead to that type of thinking as well. But it's similar. You're paying so much attention to crime, you think it's going to happen in your neighborhood, and it's just not.
And I will say too that speaking of that, I have family that have multiple cameras, and they will watch the cameras for fun.
Oh my God!
And they will do this when they're away from the house too, just for funsies, not because they're expecting something to happen, but just to see what's going on in the neighborhood. That can't be healthy either.
People get addicted to them. And feeding that addiction are these damn motion alerts from these systems. There's motion in your front yard. There's motion in your backyard.
That to me is like a big reason why like I think I need to not do Ring, because I think that would stress me out.
You can turn them off.
But
you can turn them off, and I do. And you can tweak them. You can tweak the sensitivity and where it'll like where somebody can be walking before it sends you an alert. I do have a lot of that off as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. There was a period of time where I had like an indoor camera specifically for monitoring Canella and like checking in on her when I wasn't home. I eventually got rid of it because I found that it actually increased my anxiety more. To have the easy accessibility to be like, oh, I wonder what she's doing right now. So it is something to consider. It's like, are you encouraging yourself to be like more anxious? Because that's not good for you.
Onto some specific shows that might not age well that are currently airing. I've recommended on the show previously, I think, Love on the Spectrum. This is on Netflix. It is a feel-good, wholesome show. I can see why people love it so much. You're watching people who are on the spectrum try and find love. They're dating others who are also on the spectrum. It's an enjoyable watch. You're rooting for these people. There's a lot to like. But as I've watched a couple seasons, there's a creative choice that has been rubbing me the wrong way. And that's the music that they play underneath a lot of the show as these people are going on dates or just leading their day-to-day lives. And it's just like this simple piano music. It's almost too simple of piano music. And it feels a little insulting to who these people are. I got this impression while watching. In preparation for today's show, I Googled to see if anybody else was feeling that way, and I did find some comments on Reddit. One person said, the music is very similar to that show called Old Enough, where small children run errands on their own. And someone else said, I saw someone on TikTok put scenes in Love on the Spectrum to the music from other dating shows following people who aren't on the spectrum, and the vibe totally changed to a more adult atmosphere. Laura, have you gotten this impression? Have you watched?
So I've only seen clips from this, but I'm really glad that you brought this up because this made me think of another early 2000s TLC show, Little People, Big World. Do y'all remember that one?
Yeah. And it's still running.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
What?
My Mama G's a big fan. Yeah.
25 seasons, 395 episodes.
Jesus. Well, I always kind of felt like they did the same thing to the members of the family who were little people. Because like it was like a couple of the kids were not, but then like the parents and one of the kids was. And I always remember it kind of rubbed me the wrong way, like the soundtrack they would use when it was like, you know, the little people of the show versus the soundtrack they would use for people who weren't.
Yeah.
That is odd.
It's just like very infantilizing. And it's like,
right.
Hey, it's a spectrum. And by virtue of the fact that it's a spectrum, we are all on it somewhere. So like who is any of us to draw the line and like say whether or not we should be infantilizing like grown ass adults.
Right.
Who are just trying to find love. I mean, that's just like anyone else.
Yeah. Yeah. It's sort of, you're looking in on this fishbowl and yeah, there's plenty of dating shows out there, but to follow people on the spectrum for entertainment purposes, really taking advantage of them being on the spectrum for like a different level of entertainment, air quotes. I don't know if this is going to age well, but for now it's quite popular. Couple other shows, and I mentioned earlier we did a Bay hangout on Monday night, and that's where we hang out with our Bay and higher level patrons on Zoom for an hour. It's always a good time. I asked them, what do y'all think? What shows airing now aren't going to age well? Roshni brought up one. I guess I had heard about this. And by the way, Roshni does not get Botox in her nether regions, as far as I know. She mentioned MILF Manor. So this is a reality show where moms and their sons are cast together to date each other's peers. And this is just so gross to me that this type of show would be airing, because it's like, why should a parent and their son or daughter be competing for love?
Yeah, that's weird. I think a lot of these dating shows are not going to end well. It kind of reminds me in a different way of MTV used to do a dating show. I think it was like called Date My Daughter or Date My Kid, but then like the person that wanted the date had to date the parent first to show them that they could like put on a good date. That also feels a little weird.
Yeah, definitely. And then in the second season of MILF Manor, because I guess they were like, oh, this is a little too weird, the single women were pursued by younger men and their fathers, which really isn't much better. It's still creepy from a family perspective. But this is another TLC show. TLC loves the weird stuff.
I would say anything on TLC is probably not going to age well, including 90 Day Fiance and like...
Yeah.
That show's huge, isn't it?
Yeah.
Doesn't TLC stand for the Learning Channel?
Yeah, it does.
Back in the day, Laura, they really tried to live up to their name, but now there is no learning happening on that channel.
It's also under the Discovery blanket, so you can find a lot of these shows on HBO Max if you have that.
Camille brought up two shows with naked in the title, Naked and Afraid. And that's when people are out in the wilderness naked and trying to survive. And then there's Naked Attraction. I think we talked about this a while ago. This show went viral. It's from the UK, but then it got brought over. The UK version got brought over to Max. Basically, what happens is there's a contestant who is just looking at every part of a person's body except their head. This like curtain slowly goes up, and first you're looking at, their legs and then their groin area and then their chest. And then once you pick who you want to go on a date with, you also get to see their butt in advance as well. And then when the contestant and the person they've selected meet for the first time, they're both nude. That's my recollection of it anyway.
Yeah, no, that was right. I also just remember feeling like this, like tonally, this show felt very similar in style to Great British Baking Show. Because there was an educational element to it too. Do you remember that?
That's true.
Like they would like show diagrams and like explain why some men are growers and some men are showers, and it was like very scientific and respectful.
Yeah, they were talking about like pheromones and
Yeah.
It's weird.
And some people put Botox in the asshole. I watched 1 or 2 episodes. Personally, not for me, Naked Attraction. Laura, this isn't a TV show, but we were also talking about Tropic Thunder, which isn't.
Tropic Thunder is a great example of a movie that would never get made now. But I mean, maybe I'll get canceled for this. I don't know. This actually, it's one of my favorite movies.
That's okay.
But, well, okay, you'll forgive me. This one, I get the cancellation pass. No, I mean, the thing is, like, if you, especially if you're someone who was maybe born after the time period in which that movie came out, and you're kind of approaching it with none of the context that goes with it, yeah, it would probably be very alarming. But it was a movie that was a commentary and a satire about Hollywood and things like method actors and how obnoxious they are, as well as like studio execs and the different types of tropes that existed in Hollywood. And I mean, it's, when you look at it through that lens, it's a pretty funny commentary. But yeah, if you are not looking at it through that lens, then yeah, you would probably be like, what the fuck was Ben Stiller thinking when he made this?
Yeah. And Robert Downey Jr., thank you to 40 for reminding us this in the live stream chat. Robert Downey Jr. was nominated at the Oscars for his role in that film where he does blackface. He was nominated for Best Performance by an Actor in a Supporting Role.
Which is like, the irony of that is so thick, because that was the exact thing that movie was making fun of.
Right. They were they were talking so much about Oscar bait.
Yeah.
And then the Oscars literally took the bait.
One other show I wanted to mention was The Office, specifically because the new spinoff just started airing on Peacock. It's called The Paper. It's actually pretty good. I've only watched a couple episodes. Have y'all dipped into this new show yet?
I haven't yet, but I will.
Yeah, it's worth a watch. But the original Office, the first season of the show, first of all, that season was just damn mean. Like that, I hate Michael Scott in that first season.
Everyone did.
And then they changed his tone season 2 onward. And, he's one of TV's most iconic characters. That said, there are jokes throughout the course of The Office that would never make a TV show airing today. I mean, some of this stuff is downright offensive to all different types of groups of people.
Yeah.
And yet it doesn't get backlash today. People are just like, oh, that's The Office. Yeah, it aired 15 years ago. That's just The Office.
I do think it is important to look at, like, when you're critiquing media, to think about the context of the time in which the thing was made. Like, it doesn't necessarily make things okay, but it is important to understand, like, what was considered more acceptable and less offensive at the time. And I think it also helps you realize that, like, we've come a long way in certain aspects, and also we have a lot of work to do in others.
Definitely.
So, yeah.
I think about like the Diversity Day episode in the first season of The Office as being like a prime example. In that, you're seeing multiple people's reactions to some of the horrible things that come out of like Michael Scott's mouth. But he's not the only one. So it's one of those things where, like, at the time it felt edgy in a way, because it was like, oh, you're kind of pushing the envelope, but you're also trying to say something. You're not just saying like, we want to make a bunch of like racially offensive jokes.
Mm-hmm.
It was like the joke was Michael Scott Like, he was the joke. And I think sometimes we forget about that, to your point, Pam.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, he is supposed to be like kind of the villain in a way,
Yeah.
like of The Office, even though we don't really consider him to be necessarily bad.
Mm-hmm.
He's not like a textbook villain. So I think
he's just dumb.
Sometimes, well, yeah, sometimes the irony gets lost on people, I think, of The Office. I don't think they realize that he is supposed to be like kind of like the stupid white boss.
Doesn't know any better.
Yeah.
Well, listeners, if you have thoughts on shows that used to or currently air that have or will age terribly, please let us know. You can email millennialshow@gmail.com, or you can use the contact form on millennialshow.com. You can also leave a comment on Spotify or YouTube, or DM us on social. BT Dubs video episodes of the show are available not only on YouTube, but also on Spotify. And starting this week, they're going to get up on Spotify a little faster. Those video episodes will. So check it out if you're a Spotify user. And if you enjoy this indie podcast, we would really appreciate a review in your favorite podcast app. Time for some recommendations. I'm actually going to tie in my rec to what we were just talking about. Go watch that new Biggest Loser docuseries, Fit for TV, the reality of the Biggest Loser. It's on Netflix.
I want to recommend another show that just finished airing Wednesday, season 2 on Netflix. This was really good. And Pam and I actually just got done doing an episode recapping the second half of season 2 with our friend Micah over on What the Hype. So you should definitely check that out too.
And I'm really glad you brought up Great British Bake Off, because that's what I wanted to recommend this week. It's officially back. It's just such a wholesome show. Like if you're just looking for a nice little like break at the end of your week, Netflix will have the episodes every Friday. It's such a nice way to start the morning. I get so excited when Bake Off comes back because I know I can just get up early, have a cup of coffee, have that running in the background. And yeah, it's just nice, wholesome reality competition series, which we don't get enough of. So
yeah, the challenges this week were pretty intense to start out for week 1. I was like, shit.
Yeah. And some of these contestants are already pulling out, like they're already raising the bar really high. Did you see that guy that did like the whole like university on his, it was like, what are you doing?
Well, and then also his landscape cake like fell apart, and I was like, oh, well, he's done for. No. And then he pulled it off.
He did.
It was incredible.
You never know what's going to happen on Bake Off.
All 3 of these shows are on Netflix, by the way, at least in America. So that was a ad for Netflix. I remember there was definitely an episode we were like, does Netflix even have anything anymore? I don't watch anything on Netflix.
Every once in a while.
Well, you know what? I was thinking a couple of weeks ago, they know how to pick shows that people are going to talk about. They're very good at buying the right stuff and ordering the right stuff. So my hat is off to you.
I mean, the Bake Off, like getting the rights to air that, because I think it airs, if I remember correctly, it airs Wednesdays in the UK, but it's a game changer for people that have been fans for a long time to not have to, seek other means to watch, and also to be able to watch basically in real time along with the rest
Fridays
of the
here,
UK.
Right?
Yeah, it airs Fridays here and Wednesdays in the UK on the BBC. So
nice. Cool. All right. Well, After Dark starts in a moment for patrons and Apple Podcast subscribers, in which we'll be spilling some tea. Thanks, everyone, for listening. I'm Andrew.
I'm Laura.
And I'm Pamela.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.